The world knows Chuck Norris as the epitome of invincibility, a six-time world karate champion and a legendary action star. His name became synonymous with strength, and his image, reinforced by iconic roles and internet memes, presented him as the embodiment of indestructible power. Yet behind every punch, every tough persona, and every online joke about his superhuman abilities lies a story of real human struggles, personal battles, and profound vulnerability. The memes may glorify him as a man who doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the earth down, but the reality is far more complicated. Chuck Norris's life, filled with pain and loss, reveals a much deeper journey, one that even the strongest fighters can't avoid: the battle with one's inner demons. Early life in a violent home, born Carlos Ray Norris on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma. Chuck Norris's childhood was marked by violence, poverty, and neglect. His father, Ray Norris, was an alcoholic who turned their home into a battleground. Rather than providing love and support, Ray used his fist to communicate his anger and disappointment. Chuck later revealed, "My father never hugged me. He only hit me." This constant fear of his father's unpredictable rages left deep emotional scars. His mother, Wilma, did her best to shield her children from their father's wrath, but had little power to stop it. Chuck learned early that survival meant remaining invisible, shrinking away from conflict and hoping the storm would pass. The physical abuse, paired with emotional neglect, set the stage for a life that would require immense strength to overcome. School days and struggles with invisibility. Chuck Norris was a shy, insecure child, marked by both his home life and his school experiences. Too scared to make friends and too anxious to speak up, Chuck spent his days feeling invisible. At school, classmates often noticed his bruises or ragged clothes, but they didn't bully him. They simply ignored him. He became a ghost in the hallways, someone who was physically present but emotionally unseen. It wasn't just the lack of love or attention at home that weighed on him. Chuck internalized the belief that he wasn't good enough. His father's harsh words, "You're worthless," followed him into school and every aspect of his life. It was a belief that Chuck would struggle with for years, one that shaped the fighter he would later become. The military, a place of escape and isolation. At the age of 18, Chuck Norris joined the United States Air Force, seeking an escape from his turbulent home life. It wasn't so much a desire to serve his country, but a desperate need to leave behind the pain and fear of his father's house. Stationed in South Korea at Osan Air Base, Chuck found himself isolated and lost. Though he wore a uniform that symbolized authority, he was still the same insecure, self-doubting boy. The loneliness in Korea was overwhelming, and Chuck struggled to find a sense of belonging. He later admitted, "I was lost. I had no identity, no confidence. I was just existing, not living." However, while wandering through the streets of Osan one day, Chuck stumbled upon a Korean martial arts school, and for the first time in his life, he saw a form of strength that wasn't rooted in rage. It was a revelation that would change his life forever. The birth of a champion. In 1964, Chuck Norris opened his first karate school in Torrance, California. The tiny dojo, with cracked mirrors and a squeaky floor, was a far cry from the legendary fighting schools that would later follow. Initially, no one showed up, and Chuck faced a deep sense of doubt. He almost closed the doors for good. But slowly, the students began to arrive, and Chuck began to build a reputation as a patient, precise instructor. His focus on discipline over talent and persistence over shortcuts resonated with many who wanted more than just self-defense lessons. Chuck's reputation as a martial artist grew, and in 1967, he entered the All-American Karate Championships. His precision and discipline won him the tournament. opening doors that would lead to international recognition in the martial arts world. World champion and the price of success. Chuck Norris's rise in competitive karate was nothing short of meteoric. Between 1968 and 1974, he became a 6-time world middleweight karate champion, earning an undefeated record with 183 wins and only 10 losses. His dominance in the sport made him a martial arts legend. However, despite his incredible success in the ring, Chuck still struggled with the emptiness of his accomplishment. The trophies lined his shelves, but they didn't bring him peace. He had conquered the martial arts world, but his inner battle with self-worth and his father's ghost never went away. He still felt like the boy who wasn't good enough, still carrying the burden of his past. The warrior's path was not just about victory. It was about the constant fight to overcome internal doubts. Hollywood's Sai, reluctance, and Bruce Lee's impact. By the early 1970s, Chuck Norris was a martial arts champion, but Hollywood still wasn't interested in him. Casting directors told him he didn't have the charisma to be a leading man. They saw him as too stiff, too plain for the silver screen. Despite his success in karate, Chuck faced rejection after rejection in Hollywood. Yet everything changed in 1972 when Bruce Lee, already a rising star, reached out to Chuck for a sparring session. What began as a friendly exchange between two martial artists soon turned into a pivotal moment for Chuck's career. Bruce saw something in Chuck that Hollywood couldn't: an authenticity, a quiet intensity, and a presence that would be perfect for film. Bruce encouraged Chuck to pursue acting, and in 1972, Chuck was cast as the antagonist in Way of the Dragon, the iconic fight with Bruce Lee. In Way of the Dragon, 1972, Chuck Norris's role as Colt brought him international recognition. The climactic fight scene between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in the Coliseum is still regarded as one of the greatest martial arts sequences in film history. Their fight was more than just a physical contest. It was a powerful display of two martial artists pushing each other to their limits. When Chuck's character was defeated by Bruce, audiences felt the weight of the victory because Chuck made them believe he was unbeatable. This was the moment Chuck Norris's Hollywood career truly began, but it came at a great personal cost. Bruce Lee, the man who had opened the door for him, tragically passed away just 1 year later, leaving Chuck to navigate his success without his mentor. The loss of Bruce Lee left a deep void in Chuck's life, but it also fueled his determination to continue, overcoming loss and building a legacy. Bruce Lee's death in 1973 shook Chuck Norris to his core. He had lost not only a friend but a mentor, someone who had believed in him when no one else did. Grieving his friend's untimely death, Chuck struggled with feelings of guilt and loss, but Chuck refused to give up. He honored Bruce's memory by continuing his career, taking on roles that showed off his martial arts abilities, while also embracing the opportunity to mentor others. Chuck's journey from a bullied, insecure boy to an international action star was not just about his martial arts prowess. It was about resilience, overcoming trauma, and finding strength through his pain. The world may have known him as a tough, invincible figure, but the real Chuck Norris is a man who has fought and won battles both inside and outside the ring.